رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We're trying to answer today the question: if Allah rich, why He allows poverty to exist? Yeah, a question will be thrown on you all your life, probably, if you talk to people, especially non-Muslim, or even some Muslims. Why Muslim poor? Why Allah allows poverty? Yeah, start with Ahmad.
Because this one is a test.
It's a test that some of us poor, some of us rich. Yeah, it's a test. You pass the test or fail. Yusuf. Because why Allah, if He's rich, why He doesn't make all of us rich? He doesn't want. If He has unlimited budget and He can create from nothing, it costs Him nothing at all. Allah Azza wa Jal said in the Quran, "Ma khalqukum wa la ba'thukum illa ka nafsin wahida." To create all of you and bring you back again the Day of Judgment will be as easy as creating one only. So, Allah Azza wa Jal is يا أيها الناس أنتم الفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد. All people, mankind, you are the one who are poor, and Allah is Ghani. So if it's Allah Ghani, why He doesn't rich? Why He doesn't make all of us rich? What happens, Zayd, if all of us become billionaires tomorrow?
There's no one, for example, there's no one to build. There's no one to do lower income jobs.
Yeah. What happened?
Will not work properly.
Hyperinflation.
Hyperinflation. There's going
to be like market failure in every economy.
There will be no work at all because you phone the plumber, I'm billionaire, I don't want to come. You phone the doctor, I'm billionaire. You phone taxi, I'm billionaire, I don't want your money. I don't need your money. When policemen stay at home, I'm billionaire now. No criminals, all of them billionaires. But life will go to standstill. Life will die because nobody is going to bake bread for you. Nobody is going to milk the cows because he's billionaire. So this is why Allah Azza wa Jalla didn't make all of us rich. Yeah. So that to start with. Allah Azza wa Jal can, and if He won't, make all of us rich, but what will happen? Life will go to standstill. There will be no wars, it's good, but there will no war, nobody to make you bread or bring you water or generate the electricity and things. On the other hand, is it our making to be poor, or is it Allah's making? Start from Adam time. Whose fault? Was it the fault of Allah or the fault of Adam and Eve?
Adam and Eve.
Why?
Because they took the fruit when they weren't supposed to.
Don't whisper to yourself. Adam and Eve because
they took the fruit when they weren't supposed to.
And that meant they have to
Repent because they did a sin.
They have to repent because it was a sin, but what the consequences of eating the apple? Yeah?
They were sent down to earth.
Yes, sent down to earth. Before they ate from the apple and went through biological change, basically they needed the toilet because when they ate from a tree, the nakedness appeared. Oh, I need to go to the loo. There's no loo in Jannah. In Jannah you don't have any sputum, you don't have any sweat, you don't have your sweat perfume, and there's no need even to eat and drink. But Allah just said to Adam and Eve, إنما الشيطان عدو لكم فلا يخرجنكما من الجنة فتشقى. So Allah said, Shaitan, which is around, Iblis, he's your enemy. Don't let him get you out of Jannah because you will suffer. You will suffer. You will have to do a lot of work even to earn your own food and drink. You have to search for it. You have to plant the crops. You have to hunt animals. You have to do this and do that. It's a lot of hard work. While in Jannah, what do you do if you need food or drink?
Will
You just think about it. Allah will create it in front of you. Everything you think about, even traveling, you want to go and visit your mom. Where is she? 5 million light years away. Instantly you're there. If you want even a baby, Allah will create the baby in front of you. If you want food and drink, whatever you think about, Allah will make it instantly happen. So Adam and Eve made the mistake from living that luxury life when they have to do nothing. Just think about anything they want. It will be created for them. And they were tempted by shaitan to eat from the tree. And they had to go down to earth because there's no toilets in Jannah. Because Adam repented. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ. When he ate from the tree, he felt that he made a sin. He disobeyed Allah Azza wa Jal, so he repented to Allah. He said, Allah, what can I do? Allah said to him, say astaghfirullah. And he said astaghfirullah, and Allah forgave him. And the end of the matter. He didn't come down to earth because he ate from the tree. He came down to earth because he needed a toilet. Because there were biological changes to their body. فَأَكَلَا مِنْهَا, they ate from the tree. فَبَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا. They started feeling, oh, I have something here which is look awful and things they're coming out. And so what they did, when they saw their nakedness, what was the first thing for them to do? Farah. What did Adam and Eve do when they saw them up?
Shame.
They felt shame and they did something else.
They cover themselves.
وَطَفِقَا يَخْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ. They start covering their nakedness with the leaves of Jannah. We don't Muslims draw pictures, but the Christian draw Adam and Eve with the fig leaves, I think. Fig leaves or something they use. So you were warned that you will come down to earth. Some of you might still find food and drink and become rich. Some of you will remain poor. So why Allah Azza wa Jalla, the system in earth allows people to get very poor? Why Allah Azza wa Jalla didn't have a way to protect us from poverty on earth? Or has He? Has He got any system to make us rich? Or not poor, starving? How many starving on earth? Billions, yeah? Out of the 8 billions.
I was going to say the system to get rid of the poor would be in Zakat, the Zakat system.
You're hitting the right nail. You're answering the right answer. You get a present for that. Yeah, come. Because Allah Azza wa Jal said, yes, you're going back down to earth. By the way, if you take this and you turn it and put it in your book, when you open the book, it will fly.
Yeah, but this is better.
Chocolate butter. So, Allah Azza wa Jal sent the system to you. So, yes, some of you might be strong enough to go and earn their living, probably earn more than what they need, and manage to swap for textile and have clothing and might swap their products for a car or a bike or something. But some people will always need help because you're born, you need help. The chick is born, come out of the eggshell, go and find his living straight away. Have you seen a chick go to school and then go to university and he's 22 years old and he still earn nothing? They earn their living straight away, the chicks. But Allah made us in need. You need help from the age of 0 till you are 22, 23 nowadays. I worked when I was teenager. When I was teenager, I worked for my cousin. He had a shop. And then I worked in a bakery shop. I used to wake up 3 o'clock in the morning to go with my cousin to a baker shop and do the things. And then I did work in textile shop, making bed sheets, and they pay me for the number of bed sheets I produce a day. That's in the summer when I'm in the school, not in the school. Then I had my own business, buying bikes, repair it and sell it in the bicycle market. There's a bicycle market every Friday. You go buy, bikes and sell them. And then I had a business when I bought chicks, 100 chicks for £1 each. Feed them, give them drink, whatever. They have to eat day and night, so I leave a bulb on, which is probably abused now. But they have to become 1 kilogram in 40 days. So I could sell them for £5. I make £4 profit. If I don't sell them in 40 days, they will not increase in weight, but they keep eating. And I have to spend on their food. Business, to earn money on top of my pocket money and things. Is that what you do, any of you? In the summer? So, but there's people who won't. They will need money because they are mentally impaired. They will need help because they are physically impaired. He's born with Down syndrome, he's born with some disability, legs, arms, whatever. There will be people who can't find jobs. There's people who having a baby, she can't work when she's heavy pregnant. She can't work after giving birth. So I think now the maternity leave, they give you 3 months full wage if you're working, half wage after the next 3 months, and after 6 months to give you nothing. So you have to have somebody to support you, or you go to the DHSS to get for some extra money. So there will always be people who will need help, who will become so poor they might not have even the food of the day. They might be homeless. They might be. So the system of Allah Azza wa Jal is to give these people money. And you're right, you're saying zakah, because the zakah means that if you have more than 85 grams of gold, you have to give away 2.5% of it. 2.5% of the 85 grams will be 2 grams. How much the gram of gold now? The 1 gram of gold? It's around 65 pounds or 62 pounds. So you give 120 pounds. The 85 grams of gold, probably around 6,000 pounds. So everybody have 6,000 pounds or more will have to give zakah. Now the zakah system, if you take the total GDP, the product of the globe altogether, put together, is 530 trillion a year. That statistic 3-4 years ago, probably it's more now. So if it's zakah in operation, how much you give zakah each year to the poor? 9 trillion. If you have 8 billion human beings on earth, let's say 7 billion poor, how much each one of the poor will get? $1,000, probably $200 a year. That's enough to make them survive across the globe. In many countries, $100 a month is good for you, enough for food and drink. There will be no poverty across the globe. 8 billion. Imagine, 8 billion. But the rich don't want zakah to apply. Why is that? Why the rich mainly against zakah? Obviously, the rich ruling most of the countries, and if they don't rule it, they give enough money to the politician to rule the country according to their way of life. Why rich don't want to pay? Yeah,
Because they want to get richer and richer. And if they give
why they prefer the tax system than the zakah system?
Because in the tax system, you're only taxed on what you earn, not what you have.
You're right again. You must have been listening last year's. Because in the tax system, what you do, if you have $100 billion, your wealth, let's say you are Bill Gates or you are Elon Musk, and you earn 200,000, there's a car, you pay 20% if you earn anything between 12,500 to 45,000. You pay 40% if you earn up to 150,000, you pay 45% if you earn more. So if you earn 200,000, how much tax you pay? 90,000, 45%. Next year, you have 100 billion, you earn nothing. How much tax you pay? Nothing. Because tax system pay as you earn. If you don't earn any money, you don't pay any money. They don't charge you on your wealth. That's not acceptable by most or all the rich. If you are in an Islamic system, you have 100 billion, and you earn nothing, you still pay zakat 2.5%, which is 2.5 billion. If you are rich and you are going to pay 2.5 billion, and it costs you 100 million to bribe the government to cancel the zakat system, you win. Because you will be saving 2.4 billion. For your interest, zakah is not applied. Zakah in Islam, when the Prophet ﷺ was alive, people were giving the zakah, because that approved they are Muslims. When he died, some of the Arabs refused to pay zakah. No, that tax system, we don't want you to tax our money. Refused. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he formed an army. He formed 11 armies to fight mostly those who did not pay zakah. And he said, by Allah, if they used to pay the Prophet ﷺ for a lead, like, and they used to put on the camel, to pull the camel, they used to pay zakah on that lead, and they refused to pay it now, I will fight them to pay it. Was he right or wrong? According to the Quran, he's right. Because فَإِنْ آمَنُوا وَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ. If they believe, establish the prayer and pay zakah, they are your brothers in religion. If they don't pay zakah, they are not your brothers, they are not Muslims. So they have no choice. Is that correct according to the British law? Anwar? Rayan Anwar. Is that acceptable in the British law? If people don't pay tax, can you fight them? Yes. They will summon you to court. If you refuse to go to court, what they will do? What the taxman will do if you don't pay zakah and you refuse to go to court? They will knock on your door. Yeah? If you refuse to open the door, they might get a court order to break the door. If you start shooting them, what they will do?
Shoot you back.
They will shoot back. It's the same. Zakah is exactly the same. A law, the money has to be given. Why? Because the government have poor people to support, children to support. They have to establish the education, the health, the infrastructure, the roads. They have to fund the army to protect the country. They have a lot of cost. They will get the money from the tax. If they don't get the tax, they will force you to pay the tax, like it or not. Some people run away from Britain to pay less tax in other countries. But they will lose the ability to make, manufacture things in Britain and have the reputation and sell. They always calculate how much they lose, how much they make. But Islam, Allah Azza wa Jal sent us down to earth, but He left it to us to abolish poverty. If you don't do what's needed, who can force zakah? Who can force zakah? The poor. How many poor there are on earth? 7 billion. Have you heard the news? Have you been hearing the news today? Because in Syria, where I came from, for the last 48 years, there were dictators running the country. The father, Hafez Assad, and then his son. And the revolution started 2 weeks ago now. And this morning they entered Damascus and got rid of the whole government. But they were very clever. They didn't actually abolish everything. They kept the ministers running the ministries, and they kept the police running the safety and the security of the cities. They only took over the army and the secret service. and they took over the palace of the president. The president ran away with his family, and my wife was talking to her sister. She said they came inside the palace and they looted the palace. They took all his wife's dresses, and will be perhaps enough to cover the half of Damascus. So many. But the people can force the change. So when you don't force the change, the Muslim did. When Abu Bakr sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, Omar followed, Uthman followed, Ali followed that, and the time until Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, zakat 2.5%, 2.5%, 2.5%. By the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, there were not a single poor person across the whole of the empire. And Islam at that time was from like middle of Pakistan and Afghanistan and all Iran, Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Middle East, North Africa, the border of Spain. Because they entered Spain in 711, last week we told you, which is 101 year after the death of the Prophet, after the message revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So 100 years abolished all the poverty. It took 100 years because obviously they were expanding. There were more countries coming, and a lot of them poor. But if people force the change, they will make the change. So Allah is not mean. He could make us all rich, but He wouldn't, because life will go to standstill. If all of you are billionaires, we'll go to standstill because nobody will work. So He wants us, some of us work, some of us do works which others will not do. I would never do the work of street sweeping streets and things, and I might not like the work as taxi driver. I might not work as certain jobs I don't like, but other people do. If you need a plumber and you are the prime minister, you will have to pay the plumber because you're not going to unblock your toilet. You will need a plumber, you will need a doctor, you will need a nurse, you will need a porter, you will need a taxi driver, you will need police, you will need... Allah made us need each other, and life will be run easily. But Allah Azza wa Jal put a lot of things which we do to protect us from becoming poor. We chose to come down to earth, and you have to pay the consequences. It's not a happy place to go. You can go back to Jannah if you choose to by believing in Allah Azza wa Jal. It's something we discussed in the first class about being rich in a positive way by having all sort of income and crops and you make things and things. But you could become rich in a negative way. Like what? How could you become richer than the rich, but in a negative way? What do I mean by a negative way?
The more sins than everyone else.
More?
Sins.
Sins.
Sins, like...
Yeah, you're happy in yourself. What you don't have, you don't feel you need it. So, well, I'm not actually poor because I don't have Ferrari and Aston Martin and things. I didn't find, actually, I was invited to try Lamborghini, probably because they chose to get doctors to buy Lamborghini. I didn't feel I need one. I drove Jaguar once and didn't like it. So you are rich because you're happy with yourself, yeah? That's a good answer. What else?
Do you mean like debt? Like a lot of...
You don't have debt.
No, like you have debt.
You have debt, so you are rich.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Actually, the American debt is $35 trillion, heading to 36 trillion. And they keep borrowing more money. Why is that? Zaid?
Because they're superpower and they have strongest military.
We're talking from economy point of view.
Oh, okay. Then I don't.
Why it's more richer for them to borrow money than lend money? Because you used to say riba is haram, because if you give £100 and you get back 105, it's haram.
Interest?
What interest?
They are paying interest. They're borrowing money. Why they find borrowing money make them money?
So then you don't own any money, so you don't pay tax on the money that you don't own. So then you can like buy stuff with.
You don't pay tax on the loan, yeah, that's right. But they're making money. They don't pay tax to themselves, no. The government borrowed 35 trillion. Any? I explained it before. Previous students should answer. Why?
What was the question?
Why the American government find borrowing so much money is better for them, bring them more money, than if they save money. Borrowing is better than saving and deposit money.
Because for interest, they can charge people more, get more out of it.
They pay interest. They borrow money and pay interest.
Interest rates are low. That's why.
Because when
It became high, became 5, and then now coming down. But you're buying, yeah, at least paying 4% interest.
Maybe because, let's say, they borrow money, they use that money, and they make more money. For example, let's say they have a certain amount.
Originally, this was the idea, but they're borrowing money to run the country. They pay for education, they pay for health. It doesn't get them return. There's no return. They're not building factories, and they're not building, planting farms and things. It's going to be a bit complicated, but try to make it simple for you. If they have $35 trillion debt, and they pay, let's say, 5% interest, how much they pay a year for the 35, 5 times 5, 13, 17, 17 and a half trillion, no, 1.7 trillion a year, yeah? Yes, mathematicians? 1.7. Now, the 35 trillion dollar a year, let's say the interest is less than 5, because it's less than 5. Let's say it is 3. It has something inflation called inflation, yeah? Inflation means the value of the money dropping. So if the value of the money dropping 5% a year, in some countries dropping 50% a year. I used to send to my brother sterling, 200 pounds. He used to exchange it for 2,000 Egyptian pound. Now he exchanged it for 12,000, the 200. The value of the money dropping in Egypt by probably 30% a year. Now, if it dropped by 5%, the value of the dollar, they paid interest 3%, the value dropped by 2%, by 5%, so how much money they made? They made money 2%. Made money 2% time 35 trillion. So they make 700 billion dollar a year. By just the fact of borrowing money, they make money. Because when they go back to pay back the loan, the value of the money they pay back dropped. Yeah? So they pay, in a way, less money because the value of the dollar dropped. So for their benefit, that they have more borrowed money. And they're so evil. Every year, they raise the ceiling of the borrowing. Because they have by law to put a ceiling. You can't borrow more than that. Then they found that they are actually making more money if they borrow more. So they borrow more money and they make money. So they are living on the idiots who lend them the money. Who lend them the money? Mostly overseas. Internally also, some states save their money, like the council save their money, the churches save money, whatever. So these idiots who lend them the money, they lose out. Because now, these days, when you borrow money and the value of the money drops, you're better off. Because you borrowed 100,000 to buy a house in 1990 for 100,000 pounds, and you pay back the money plus interest, and you pay back probably 300,000. and after the 25 years, your house is worth 500,000. So you bought the house for 100, and you paid interest 200,000. So you paid 300,000. Your house is 500,000. So how much money you made? By borrowing money, you made money. In Islam, it doesn't work like this because the value of the money doesn't drop. Why is that? Why the value of the money doesn't drop?
Because it works on zakat.
Just do with gold.
Because zakat make you not need to have, if you have zakat collected every year, 9 trillion, who will need banks? If you want money, the Muslim called it the house of money, Baytul Mal. You borrow from the house of money. The money you borrow is not actually manufactured money, it's money collected from people, zakat. While banks manufacture money. When you put in the bank £100, they are allowed by law to lend £1,000. Because they put in the Bank of England £100, the Bank of England will allow them to lend £1,000. So they created £900 from nothing at all. So when you have more money, the value of the money drops. But here, you're not actually getting new money. You're getting the money from the people, put it in the house of money, you lend it out, you spend on the poor, spend on the needy, spend on infrastructure, you spend on health, on education, on the defense, on elderlies, on. You still have enough left. Obviously, every country have GDP, depends on its size. But in Islam, you kill something called banks. When you kill banks, you kill with it something else, because companies also manufacture money. How companies manufacture money? From nothing.
Loans.
They do.
Loans. Loan.
They call it bonds. They sell bonds. Like Costa, they wanted $1 billion loan. They don't want to pay interest. So they sold bonds to people from the company. And the same, they borrow money, they make money when they borrow money. So they managed to raise it within 2 hours or 3 hours, something like this. So companies generate money from nothing, government generate money from nothing, and banks generate money from nothing. So the value of money always drops. In Islam, that doesn't happen because you don't borrow money. First, you're not allowed to charge interest or pay interest. And you don't need banks to borrow money from them because you have the zakah money. There's enough money to give the 8 type of people who take zakah. One of them is the failing businesses. So if, let's say, car manufacturer company is going bankrupt because they have problems and things, you can lend them from zakah, because it's called wal-gharimin in the Quran. If people who become peace lovers and come close to Islam, you can give them money. They are not Muslims, but the mu'allafa qulubuhum. You give the poor and the needy, you give the homeless, you give the and then for the sake of Allah, you spend on education, on health, on this, on this. So Allah send us to earth to use His system to avoid becoming poor. So Allah is not going to make all of us rich because life will go to standstill. But Allah wants us to apply a system which He knows it's good for us. Naam Zaid.
Is there any country that uses that system?
Unfortunately, zero. Not a single. Even the Islamic banks, I took my first time I bought a house, I took money from Islamic bank called Al Baraka Bank. And I said, how much I have to pay a month? They said £500. That's in 1989, 88. I said, okay, my wage was £940, £500 is a lot of money, more than half my wage, but I thought, that would be probably enough. And then the first month they sent me, I must pay £685. I said, why? I said, oh, they didn't. They lied to me. They told me 500 and they were cheating me. They said, oh, this is how much it cost, how much the money cost. I said, how do you know how much money the money make? How do you know? They said, we take the 4 major banks in Britain, HSBC, it wasn't HSBC at that time, it was Midland, and Lloyd's, and NatWest, and Barclays. We take their interest rate, add them together, divide them by 4, and add 2% our admin. I said, hello? I ran away from the interest, from the high street banks, to give you interest plus 2%. So I went straight to my solicitor. I said, find me somewhere else. And he found me a bank called UCB, it's a European bank, and they would charge me only £400 a month. 400. From 400, 685. They're so evil that they're using Islam as halal money. A friend of mine bought a house here in Solihull for 180,000. He borrowed from the bank investment, a Kuwaiti bank investment, 180 to buy the house. But they have one condition. Even if you sell the house, you still have to pay us 180,000. The house worth 80,000 when he bought it. To pay 180, even if you want to get out of the loan tomorrow? What law, what religion, what are you following? And I said to him, I mean, if you don't stay the full term, if you need to change the house, or the house, something happened, or they were divorced in the family or something, you're going to lose straight away. So unfortunately, the answer no. Because that needs force from the masses of people. When I talked about it as a system, alternative system to the Christian congregations, they said to me, how are you going to force it to make the rich give 2.5% of their wealth? Because they're not paying the tax, man. They run away from the tax. I said, easy. The company who actually pay 2.5% of their wealth and the rich a year, will put them on the green list. Those who don't pay, will put them on the black list. And those who are still calculating and hesitating and things, discussing it, will put them on the gray list. So the masses, we will say, BT has donated 2.5%. Join BT, mobile and BT, or whatever. Vodafone paid, join Vodafone. Virgin refused to pay. O2 refused to pay, boycott them. The masses will boycott them. So I said, they are not expected, like in Islam, probably to pay the poor, because how are you going to distribute it? I said to them, the company will say, this company will have to fund 1,000 places in universities. So instead of your father paying £9,000 a year, the company will pay. So your father would save £9,000, will buy a new washing machine, a new fridge, a new car, whatever. You enrich people. And that company will fund 1,000 beds in the hospital, and that will fund 1,000 elderly care beds, and that will fund building that bridge, and that will fund. So you will have ways to make the masses force the rich to pay zakah. This is why Abu Bakr succeeded, because most of the people will be receiving zakah, not paying zakah. How many have more than 85 grams of gold in Egypt? Probably very few. 6,000 British pounds will mean time 60 now. So 60 times is 480,000. Very few have more than 480,000 Egyptian pounds. So many will not pay. Who will pay? The rich, who owns now more than half the globe. 1% of the people, the global people, own more than 0.5% of the wealth of the globe. 1% own more than half the wealth of the globe. That is unacceptable at all, this is why the people in Syria succeeded eventually, because they became so poor that they're losing anything anyway, will go out. So they moved from the north, they took Idlib, Aleppo, went down to Hama, and came down to Hummus, and Hummus said, oh, stronghold here in Hummus. Said, okay, bypass Hummus and came to Damascus. After 2 hours, they conquered Hummus. 4 o'clock this morning, we're in the middle of Damascus. The masses of people eventually succeeded. So Allah Azza wa Jal sent us down to earth, but there is a system to use. At the beginning, Allah Azza wa Jal showed Muslims that He can create from nothing. Don't worry. If you need, like they were in a mission, and they needed water, ran out of water. They said to the Prophet ﷺ that we have no water. So collect the waters you have, and they collected, it was like a big bowl. He put his hand in the water, and he said, take as much as you want. So they kept taking water and filling their containers, filling their tanks and things, and making their camels drink and their horses. And the water kept coming from between his fingers, gushing out. And then you had enough, you need any more? No? He lifted his hand, water stopped multiplying. When Musa was lost with the sons of Israel in Sinai for 40 years, they wanted water in the desert. So Allah said to Musa, do what? What did he do? You read the Quran? Yeah?
Like here, this staff on a rock.
Strike.
Like a rock.
Sorry,
Like a rock.
a ball.
A rock.
A rock. Yeah. A rock, he hit, قلنا اضرب بعصاك الحجر. Hit the rock, and that rock, 12 springs came out of it, gushing, the water gushing, from nowhere. From nowhere. And every one of the 12 tribes, he had share in one of the water. So wherever they used to go, they used to take that rock with them. And the staff of Musa ﷺ just hit the rock, and the water comes out. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ in Maut's war, they were even not able to go, not guard the Maut because the enemy will pass. So Jabir ibn Abdullah came to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and he said, my wife cooked some chicken for you to come and have a meal with us. He said, only me? He said, no, and Abu Bakr and Umar and Ali, if you chose to. So Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, all the army invited to Jabir ibn Abdullah's house for a meal. Jabir ibn Abdullah was terrified. He went to his wife and he said, the Prophet invited all the army. She said, have you told them that there's only 2 chickens? He said, yes. She said, oh, don't worry. Then they all lined 10 by 10, go in, eat, and go out, oh, alhamdulillah, full. And then again, 300 of them had enough food to fill their tummy. And after they had enough, yes, and he left the house with only a little bit eaten from the chicken and the rice. So Allah made that multiply. Yes, Allah can make that. Allah is rich and can make you rich. But He wants you to use your brain and His orders. So you apply zakah, you're well off. Allah Azza wa Jal, there's a lot of events when Allah Azza wa Jal made the Muslims gain from nothing. When Musa was traveling and he came across the 2 ladies who were unable to water their sheep, and he watered the sheep for them. Then he went to under a tree to have a rest, and he said to Allah Azza wa Jal, oh Allah, I haven't got anything of your sustenance. Allah straight away sent one of the daughters came and invited him to their house for a meal, and he ended marrying one of the daughters, and he became a member of the family, supported straight away. So on your way out, I need to stamp the 224